Hello everyone, and welcome to my latest installment of upgrades for my FT-6 dual extruder printer. I'd actually recorded a video about 3 weeks ago or so, and had to go out of town on business and had my cell phone stolen by pickpockets in Greece and lost my video. So I get to redo this. So before I went on my trip, I had a little bit of a Christmas in February. On the same day, I received both my dual extruder Bowden, or not Bowden, but my dual extruder hot ends. This is that kit that I bought that has both the Cyclops head, which is what's configured here with the on the mount with the fan and everything. So you'll notice the difference here is that both filaments actually feed into the hot end. So this is actually a mixing dual extruder. Then you also have the individual hot ends, and these are supposed to be the Volcano hot ends, and so you can also do a dual extruder setup. So you basically just slide, pull the set screws, slide that out, and put the new parts on. So I get to play with that. And on the same day, I had received a roll of white LEDs on a 24 volt setup. So these I'll cut links off and actually run them along the rails here somewhere to actually light this area so that when I'm printing, I'll actually be able to see things. And that will make a nice addition. Now I have a few other neat things that I've done. So in addition to that, I had bought a touch sensor. This is essentially, this is the 3D touch, so it's the clone of the BL touch, I guess. At the moment, I don't think I'm going to bother with this for a while. I might use it. But I think I've decided that once I solve my recess problem here, I'm going to see about getting just another aluminum sheet so that, you know, we already saw the thermal temperature profile issues. So if I can get a good thermal conduction on this, then I'll be able to use that and go ahead and keep the magnetic sensor, since the inductive sensor will actually detect the aluminum as I come up to it. Now, the last thing I will show you, I managed to finish printing this. I printed it while I was on the road for the last piece of it. This is a two-part, and you'll see it's a mirror image, and it's intentionally a mirror image all the way down to the threads in the side. But this is my replacement for my defective and not very usable mount for my filament rolls. And you'll see that the diameter here is smaller and longer. This will actually support those wide 10 centimeter rolls like Robo 3D produces, as well as the larger rolls. Typically, I'm going to use a spacer so that the roll will still rotate centered on here. And then I've got these end pieces that I'm not sure if I can do this from here. Basically, just when you push them in the right way, will slide in and twist. I'll get this mounted up and show you. The other thing you're seeing here is, so this is the only part that I had to print separately. All of these, each half of this prints as one whole piece. And then I have this little push-in part to give me a guide clip. And so that will guide the filament as it comes off the reel. And where it guides it to are my new filament runout sensors. So these two sensors, they're a few bucks on Amazon. And those will control the feed into the Bowden. And so just before the Bowden, those will, and that will guide the filament right. It curves very nicely just right here. So let me get this mounted up and I'll show you how this works. You'll notice there's basically one screw at the top holding the two halves together to give it some structure. And then at the base, I designed it with some holes on the side, but there's no way you could actually get the T-nuts in there, so forget that. But I have the two screws and T-nuts basically from the other mount, so I'm not needing any more hardware other than basically I used 4 of the 1-inch 440s here that were the extra ones that I had bought for mounting my sensor since it was missing its screws. And then I have one more here that I actually had to shear off with my little bolt or screw shear and make that a little shorter. Okay, so now you see how this whole thing's designed to work. Again, just 2 of the T-nuts holding it in, and here you see it holding the fat, small opening reel, and I'm actually using pieces of an old one as my center offset for my larger reels. Actually works pretty well. And I wanted to show how this works. So this basically slides in and out, and it's a little tight because it's a little bit of burring inside, but basically it slides back and forth, and when you slide it in, it just twists and locks. And same thing on the other side, twisting the same direction. So it untwists forward, twists backwards. And so that works quite nicely. And now you can see how the filament routes through the guides. So regardless of where it's coming off, it hits the sensor pretty much the same direction. And then if we swing around here, so now you can see how that goes from the sensors down into the feed. Now there are a couple of things that will probably cause me to do one more design iteration here. The one thing, because this sits right on top of the rail, what I've lost, this used to sit real nicely right down between the 2 motors and come out the side, and now there's just no room for it. I'm not 100% sure. You know, I designed this with a little cable run through the middle so that the cable that comes off of these can run through here without ever getting up and interfered with at the where the reel is going to be, especially for the bigger reels that are going to hang down. You can see almost to that opening. But I really liked the way that was before, so I might have to do something about that. The other thing is I probably need something to make this just a little more rigid this way, because it is, if I push on it, it does wobble a little. Not likely to break anytime soon, but I would like it to be a little more structural. I think as far as pulling the rolls, it will be just fine. I mean, the whole frame is moving as I pull on it that way, so I'm not worried about that. Now, the other thing that's the big decision I need to make is, frankly, I'm really sick of having to reach around behind this thing and try to fight with it. I mean, I've got a long reach and I can still just barely get stuff in and out. So, chances are good I'm actually going to see about pulling this thing to the front. Not ideal, but that might just be what I have to do. Otherwise, I'm not sure how I'll live with this. Now, one final note, I did want to mention that even though it took a little bit of, actually a lot of emails back and forth, and you know, more effort than it should have, FolgerTech did finally come through and sent me some replacement parts and covered the cost of most of the extra parts that I had to buy that were missing. And also they've sent me, we discussed whether to send this bed back or what to do about the countersinks, and so they agreed to just send me a set of countersinks. I'll see if I can't ream these out using one of these countersinks, and then we'll see if we can't get these down below the surface so that then I can finally come along and put something across this entire surface as my print surface. And then I'll have something that will actually be removable so that once I run a print, I'll be able to remove the whole plate and pop the part off. So thanks for watching, and if you like the video, please check the like link and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to you next time.